pass and are approved. And the next order of business is the Navier Boat hydrofoil. And we'll have an update from our consultant, Peter Phillips, and City Manager Michael Matthias.
Thank you, Chair Nutting. Just to frame this a little bit, pleased to have Peter here, who's done some stellar work for our community on multiple fronts. But tonight, Peter's going to give us a summary of an event taking place next week, and we have, initiated that original pilot project. Peter can talk about that, but this year, unfortunately, we were unable to proceed with that. What we have is a demonstration project on next week that's going to focus on electrification of ferry service, hydrofoil ferry service. And the thing about it is that, enhancing multimodal transportation options are critical to this community. And I think what's exciting about what Peter's going to talk about is that in terms of environmental stewardship with the sound, that we can identify sources of energy and uses of electrified vessels that minimize impacts on the sound and maximize access and provide for multimodal connections both to the Angle Lake commuter shuttle, to the airport, to Des Moines itself as we build the steps that will create more demand. So this is just one more step in a process that the council's been supportive of moving forward to accomplish. And so it's really a pleasure to hear the report from Peter, and I thought that tonight the Economic Development Committee and Municipal Facilities Committee would both benefit from his presentation. So with that, Peter, turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Michael. I'm going to be relatively brief since I think I'm speaking to a pretty educated audience on what we've been doing and what we're going to do. But just to recap what we did last year so successfully, we had the pilot project with the traditional fast ferry, traditionally propulsed.
Yeah. There we go. Sorry.
So is it? I think I'll just sit back like this. Okay. I think it'll work. So this was a Chilkat Express, which we chartered from Puget Sound Express, and it was a foil-assisted boat, and it did about 30 knots. Very successful. As you know, we carried 15,000 passengers, and for a community with 30,000 people to have 15,000 passengers go back and forth between here and Seattle in 2 months is pretty good. In fact, it was about 400% of what we expected in terms of ridership, and about 250% of revenue generated, which we call fare box recovery. So it was very successful. It was about 40% of the fare box was recovered through revenues, and that's about twice what a traditional bus system has. So pretty impressive. And council then asked us to look into an expanded pilot to look at, that was pretty much focused on tourists, visitors to Seattle, discretionary income, and you asked us to look at what an expanded commuter service might look like, expanded earlier into the year and later into the year, and then earlier into the week, earlier into the day. And we had contracted with a provider called Prop out of the Bay Area, and they had a boat very similar to the Chilkat Express. We couldn't use the Chilkat Express again because they want to sell it, and they didn't want to put it under long-term charter to us or to anybody. So we found another boat. And on the way up, that boat had a catastrophic failure. It had a catastrophic failure on the way up. Carbon fiber shaft broke, and they're expensive and they're timely to replace, so we couldn't use the boat. But we learned a lot when we were doing that. And most importantly, I think, is that we started developing relationships with the potential partners that we'll need to partner with to fund, full-time permanent service, be it seasonal or year-round. And there are several public and private entities that we'll be pursuing for that kind of funding partnership. This Navier demonstration project. So one of the things that was a result of what we did last year was that our visibility, not only in the community regionally, but within the industry was much heightened. So we've been approached by several potential providers of this new generation of electric foil-assisted and foil ferries. So they're carbon